What if I told you that the way you speak could determine whether she follows your lead or checks out emotionally?
We're going live.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Happy Friday, guys. I am pumped for the weekend. How about you? It's prom. It's prom season, and my son's going to his first prom. He's a sophomore, and his date is this cute little junior. And I've been putting him on game. You don't worry about that. You don't worry about that. Anyway, it's pretty exciting stuff. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about leveling up and getting better with women is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. That being said, too many men complain their wives or girlfriends won't listen. They won't follow their lead, or they challenge their vision for the relationship. And they're stuck, frustrated, ready to give up. But what if the problem isn't her? What if you're unknowingly triggering resistance with how you communicate, and you've been handling it, and you've been handing over the frame without even realizing it? Today, I'm going to show you how to use powerful NLP techniques rooted in neuroscience and influence psychology to shift the dynamic ethically and effectively. Yeah, I know the title says Dark NLP Persuasion Techniques. I suppose it's all on how you look at it. But stick around to learn how to lead with clarity, presence, and persuasion without manipulation. Or is it? Or is it manipulation? Life is manipulation, guys. People just don't like the word manipulation. All right, before we get into it, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, without fail. And if you guys are watching live right now, do sound off in the live chat. I could bring your comments up on the screen. If you guys are watching on TikTok right now, head on over to my YouTube channel. I can actually hear your or see your comments and bring it up on the screen. You guys could be an interactive part of the show. And you know what? If you guys get value out of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. That supports the show probably more than anything else. So let's talk about understanding the frame and why you lose it. This is Frame Fridays, if you guys didn't know. Every Friday on the channel, we do talk about mental frame and frame in the relationship and how you can enhance your frame and all that kind of fun stuff. So what is the frame, right? Well, your frame is your reality, your expectations, boundaries, vision for the relationship. It's your values, right? It's how you see the world. Now, the thing is, a lot of you guys out there don't have strong frame because if anyone challenges your worldview or challenges your beliefs, a lot of you guys get upset by that and then want to fight back. If you are fighting back at all, you are operating in someone else's frame. Okay. If someone challenges your viewpoint and you just go, okay, I can see where you're coming from with that. You don't have to agree with them, but you're also not thrown off by the fact that not everyone agrees with you. You have pretty strong, solid frame. You're not afraid to hold your values and hold your belief systems. You don't really care what anyone else thinks. You're going to do it anyway, right? So how do you use this, right? You have to know what you believe. You have to communicate it calmly and with certainty. And if you believe it, she's going to believe it. If you believe it, she's going to believe it. Now, this is one thing that I learned from one of my business coaches. If you subconsciously don't believe the stuff that you're saying, you don't believe the stuff that you're doing, other people, not just your wife, other people are going to be able to tell. They're going to be able to tell with your body language and stuff like that. For instance, let's say you are trying to explain to your wife something and like consciously, you know, it's true, but deep down, you don't believe it. Your body language is going to give it away. You're going to do stuff like this when you're talking, you know, your body language is saying no, but your words are saying yes. Well, people pick up on that kind of stuff and they're like, I don't know why, but I don't believe this guy, right? So if you want her to believe whatever it is you're saying, and she wants to follow your lead, right? Let's say it's all about your leadership, your decisions, and whatever it is that you want her to get on board with. You have to be in alignment with whatever it is that you're saying. You have to truly make it a part of who you are. This is why you can only fake it until you make it to a certain point. Eventually, you have to make it a part of who you are, and you're not faking it anymore, right? So why do most men lose the frame? Well, they tend to get reactive. They seek emotional validation, or they explain themselves too much. In my day job, this is something I'm trying to coach some of my guys on, because they will over-explain something, thinking that the more words that they spit out, the more helpful they're being. But in reality, it tends to confuse everybody. And I'm like, stop. Just less is more. Be more direct and to the point. Like, the more words that come out of your mouth, the more questions they're going to ask. So be short, clear, and concise, and you'll get less pushback and less questions, right? You want to do that in your relationship too. You don't have to explain yourself. We call it deering, right? Defend, explain, excuse, rationalize. If you find yourself, your wife, your girlfriend's questioning your decisions, she's questioning whatever you're doing, and then you're all of a sudden you're defending yourself, explaining yourself. Now, of course, she doesn't trust your leadership, because now you're on the defensive. That's all she feels, is that you're being defensive, right? It's all about how she feels. And in NLP, a lot of it is how you're making them feel. And it works on men too. So you got to stop negotiating boundaries, right? Say what you mean once calmly and walk away if challenged, right? That's why we say you've got to reward good behavior and punish bad behavior. Well, you punish bad behavior by removing your time and attention, right? You walk away if challenged, okay? NLP model of communication. So we don't respond to reality. We respond to our internal representation of it. Last week on Frame Friday, it was a little bit woo-woo, right? It was a little bit woo-woo. We were talking about the Kybalion hermetic principles of the universe and how that impacts your frame and how you can have stronger mental frame using the laws of the universe, right? Fun episode. If you guys haven't watched it, check it out after this. But that's really how our world works, right? What you're seeing out here isn't necessarily reality. It's your reality. It's what you see internally. It's how your brain is interpreting messages. Okay. And a lot of what you see out there and the judgments you make are based on your own values or meaning that you put onto something, right? You have that's what we call a paradigm, right? But you see something happening and you put your own experiences, beliefs, and values on that thing and give it meaning, right? Someone else can look at the same thing and have a completely different view of it because they have different values, they have different meanings, all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating, right? So we don't respond to reality. We respond to our internal representation of it, which means that we interpret every experience through mental filters. Images we create, sounds we hear internally, and feelings we associate with those inputs, right? So why does that matter? Well, when she's upset, she's not just reacting to what you said, the words coming out of your mouth, because 9 times out of 10, she's not even hearing those words, right? She's responding to how it made her feel. So logic won't override a negative emotional state. So you have to speak to the emotion before the words will land, right? So how do you do this? Well, one thing you could do is mirror her emotional energy, right? If she's tense, acknowledge it. Don't go straight into fixing or explaining it, right? We're not trying to fix her problems, but you do want to acknowledge it. She wants to know that you understand how she feels. That's where being emotionally intelligent comes in. That's why women want a guy who's emotionally intelligent. right? If she's pissed off, you can acknowledge that by saying, I can tell this really frustrates you. Yeah. I do that to people in the comments a lot because I get a lot of hate comments, and a lot of people will say like really mean things. Whatever I say triggers them for whatever reason, and they'll just like go off on me in the comments. I think it's funny. And so sometimes I'll just reply back like, you seem upset. I'm not going to sit there and argue with them in the comments. I know they want to drag me into an argument. I'm not going to get into an argument with them about it. So I'll say something like, you seem upset. I can tell this really frustrated you, right? Then you want to shift the state. Okay. Use calm, confident tone and body language to redirect, right? So for example, let's take a breath. This is something we can figure out, right? I can tell this really frustrated you. Let's take a breath. This is something we can figure out, right? So you acknowledge her emotion and now you redirect, but you're doing it from a position of leadership and you're not reacting to her. And that's the most important thing. You're not climbing on her emotional roller coaster. You understand? So you're making her feel more safe because you're not getting up in your emotions. You're holding frame, right? So you want to focus less on exact words and more on the emotional tone that you're bringing. The tone matters. It matters to women, okay? Especially women. But you want to focus on the emotional tone that you're bringing, because women aren't hearing the words coming out of your mouth. They're hearing the tone, and they're watching your body language and how all that makes them feel. And they don't really care about the words coming out of your mouth, right? So your tone's important. So influence starts with state alignment, not really persuasion, okay? So if you're calm, steady, and certain, she's going to come around to that. She's going to feel that. She's going to feel your steadiness. That's going to make her feel more safe. She's going to chill out, right? If you want peace, gentlemen, if you want peace, this is how you do it, okay? Women will never bring you peace. They will only bring you drama. Peace comes from up here and having good mental frame. And this is how you lead her into your frame. You see? You don't climb on her emotional roller coaster. You stay calm and steady in the moment. You don't let her reactions and her actions dictate how you feel and how you react. You are in control of that up here. And once you realize that and you learn that, you will have your peace. Okay. Let's talk about perceptual positions, right? Mental shifts to gain control in the conflict. So NLP teaches that there's three main perceptual positions you can mentally step into during any interaction. First position, second position, third position. If you guys are writers, or if you have had a language arts class, you might have heard of this as first person, second person, third person, right? Same thing. First position is you from your point of view, right? You experience things from your own perspective, your thoughts, feelings, and justifications. This is where most people operate by default. Okay, makes sense, right? You are you. You see things through your lens, through your point of view, your value system. Okay. But there's another position too, her position, right? If you can take a minute and step into her shoes for a minute, experience the moment from her emotional state and worldview, you might understand where she's coming from, right? This is where empathy falls into place, learning to be a little more empathetic. I love how Paul Benjamin refers to it as tactical empathy. If you're doing this in a place to better lead your relationship and be more strategic in your relationship, this is tactical, right? Men are pretty good at this. If you think about it, our experiences over our history of warfare, you have to, if you're going to like think of the art of war, right? If you can understand your enemy and what your enemy is thinking before they do it, you can outwit them, right? Same thing in your relationship. If you're going to have a discussion with your wife or your girlfriend and you could put yourself in her shoes and how she's going to think about things and react to things, right? You can be a little more strategic about it, right? So the second position's her. Third position would be an observer. a third-party observer, someone else in the room watching you two argue. So you can mentally, we have this magic ability to mentally look at a situation from a third-party observer. We can actually imagine what that's like. We call that also in NLP dissociation. So you could dissociate yourself mentally from the argument itself and see how other people might be seeing this interaction, right? So you mentally step out the situation, like a coach or a therapist watching the scene unfold. You observe both people objectively without emotional bias. Okay. So you try to look at the situation, not like taking sides with yourself, taking sides with her or whatever, just a third party objective viewer and how that situation's playing out. Okay. So how do you use it? Well, during a heated moment, you can mentally pause, especially if you're finding yourself getting up in your feelings, right? You can mentally pause and shift into that third party perspective. Right. And it's pretty fast. Our minds operate pretty quickly. Okay. So it's okay. Take a moment and try to think of how this interaction is playing out as if someone else is watching. Right. And then ask yourself, if I were coaching someone else through this argument, what would I say? Right. What's really going on emotionally here? This gives you distance from your ego and helps you de-escalate, lets you reframe the situation with clarity and authority. You understand? 9 times out of 10, you are getting dragged into a situation and you are emotionally reacting and you are operating on instinct at that point. You don't have strong mental frame if that's happening. So this is something you have to work on. You have to work on. And so these are some tools that will help you get there. Okay. And then we can anchor some positive states. Okay. What's anchoring? Anchoring's cool. Like think of, you guys ever heard of Pavlov's dog? Pavlov's dog? Pavlov, he trained a dog, right? Every time he fed it a steak, he would ring a bell. He would ring a bell. And the dog got to a place where it associated the bell ringing with the steak. And so then it got to a point where he would just ring a bell and the dog's mouth would start drooling all by itself, right? Because the dog's mind was immediately drawn to steak. So the ringing of the bell made the dog think of steak, caused his mouth to water, right? Same thing happens to people. We call this an anchor, right? So if you are ever in a place where you're having a good time with your wife, she's laughing at your jokes, she's loving the interaction with you, you can touch her arm in a certain place, right? Touch her arm in a certain place every time she does, something right. She's super happy. You want to anchor that emotional point. You touch her arm or you say a specific phrase, right? Supercalifragilistic. I don't know. That just came to mind. My coach Nikki says supercalifragilistically awesome all the time, and it's funny. But you could say a specific word or phrase when she's in that moment. After a while, she's going to subconsciously associate that action, touching her arm or whatever that phrase is. And then anytime you're in an argument or whatever, you can throw that phrase out there and she's going to subconsciously get back into the happy state. Do you see how this might be dark NLP manipulation, persuasion? But if you need her to calm down quick, right? Telling her to calm down won't work, right? But getting her to snap out of it through a planted anchor, that could do it. That could do it. Paul, that's manipulative. Like, look, do you want a peaceful household or not? Oh man, just manipulation. You're teaching them manipulation, maybe a little bit. Hey, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. I'm even on TikTok. Hey, what's up, TikTok? Head on over to my YouTube channel. I'm live over there right now. If you guys have comments, we can bring it up on the screen. But I'm on all the good platforms. Follow me on all of those. And then, guys, get on the email list, list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you a bunch of free stuff. You can get my ebook, She's Made You Weak. There's a bunch of other free stuff in there. There's a free chapter of my first book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. There's for you guys that are out in the dating circuit, there's 20 dating app openers for you guys. And then I just recently added the first 3 chapters of my book, Get Her to Fuck You Again. So if you've been thinking about reading that book, get on the email list. You can get that for free. Go to list.comeonmanpod.com. Hey, look, if you don't want stickers, that's fine. Just put don't want stickers in the address field. I don't want to waste a stamp on you. I just went through and went through my list and mailed out stickers yesterday. And I was looking at people's addresses and I started just grabbing their address and throwing it in ChatGPT saying, hey, is this a legit address? And if it said, no, this doesn't look like a real address, I'm not wasting a fucking stamp on you. Okay. So don't put a fake address in there. Just put don't want stickers. All right. It's okay. I'm not trying to show up at your house. All right. And then guys, so we're talking about frame. My book on frame is actually my second book, which is called The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm. It's part of the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series that RP Thor created. AJ Matthews just dropped a new book, and it's all about his story on becoming the Viking detailer. It's pretty good. And he just dropped that yesterday. Check that out. Do a search on Amazon for The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence and get all the books in this series. Except for that bastard Glenn Lawrence, because his book is not canon as far as I'm concerned. You're like, Paul, fuck you, man. Let me play a commercial for Psychology Paradigm. We'll get back to the topic today.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script, reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life? This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in RP Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today. Reprogram your life and step into the man you were meant to be.
All right. Yes. Step into the man you were meant to be. Let's talk about NLP techniques to shift the power dynamic. One thing you can do is matching and mirroring. So we have there's a saying in NLP, which is people like people who are like themselves. People like people who are like themselves. So this is something you can actually do on the dating circuit if you're not in a relationship. But this builds rapport with people, right? But if you match her body language, her breathing pace, her tone slightly, it builds unconscious rapport and safety. It makes them feel comfortable in the situation, right? It has to be pretty subtle, right? So if she crosses her arms like this, you wait a couple of seconds and then you cross your arms like that, right? If she leans over to the left and does this with her finger or whatever, you wait a couple of minutes and you might do it with your right hand, right? But lean over and put your hand there, right? It's almost like a monkey see, monkey do type thing, right? But you're going to start matching her body language. That's going to subconsciously make her feel more comfortable in the interaction. You could also do some pacing and leading, right? So you want to align first. Okay. You can do some of that matching and mirroring. You could do the matching and mirroring with her, her tone as well. Also with her emotional state, acknowledge her emotions and stuff like that. But then you want to direct that energy in a certain way, right? So pacing and leading, it's foundational NLP for influence. It means You start by meeting her emotional or mental state. That's pacing. So you start, if she's talking rapidly, you start talking rapidly. If she's talking more slowly, you talk more slowly. Okay. Then you lead her towards the state or outcome you want her in without resistance. Because once you're in the place where she's at, she's going to feel comfortable with it. And now you can change the pace and the tone and lead it in a certain direction, right? So when you pace someone, they feel understood and validated. This drops their defenses. And once they feel emotionally seen, they're more likely to follow your lead emotionally, verbally, or physically, right? So let's say she's tense or she's upset and you want to de-escalate the situation without losing the frame. All right. So like we said in the beginning, you say, I can tell this got under your skin, right?7remember at the beginning, we were talking about, what was it? We were talking about pacing at the beginning too. But you basically say, yeah, you acknowledge her emotions in the moment, right? I can tell this got under your skin. Then you want to lead her. And I also know we're better than arguing about stuff that doesn't move us forward. Okay. I'm going to tell you're upset, but we're better than this, right? Another example, right? She's all upset. She's mad that you guys are disconnected and she's feeling all, anxious and frantic about it. You say, yeah, today did seem off, didn't it? This is a little bit like fogging, right? Yeah. Sort of agree without the amplify. Yeah, today felt off. Let's reset. I'm pouring us both a drink and shutting us down for the night, right? Now you're taking the lead in the interaction. And once you meet her where she's at, she's going to feel comfortable with you taking that leading action, right? That's going to allow her to relax in her feminine. You're not apologizing. You're not matching her mood. You're acknowledging and then redirecting as the emotional leader in the relationship. Okay. So when do you use this? You can use this in conflict to stop the escalation without being submissive and apologizing, right? In moments of tension, to reframe the situation so she looks at it differently. That's what reframing is, all right? And then anytime you want her to follow your energy instead of you reacting to her energy. Like if you do this enough, right? Especially in the beginning of a relationship, you do this enough, you basically train her to follow your lead. You see where I'm going with this, guys? Okay. So here's a power move. Once you pace her successfully a few times, she'll subconsciously start trusting you, your lead more automatically, right? You're training her, giving you long-term influence without needing to push. So you do this early in the relationship, she just naturally starts trusting your lead and your authority, right? All right. Presuppositions in language is huge in NLP, right? So you want to frame your point as if it's already a foregone conclusion, right? It's already accepted. You believe this, right? Kind of thing, right? So how to use? Here's an example. When we get back to feeling like a team again, instead of saying, if we ever fix this, okay, you're actually planting the presupposition in her head that you guys feel like a team. Don't you guys feel like a team? If she's feeling like a team, that's like a subconscious sort of injection into her, suggestion, right? It's a subconscious suggestion saying, we feel like a team, don't we? Right? That's a presupposition. So when we get back to feeling like a team again, makes her go, yeah, we are a team, aren't we? Right? Why are we fighting? This thing's so stupid. You're basically subconsciously planting certainty in her head. You're planting a belief in her head, right? Pattern interrupts are fun. You'll find that we operate on patterns and loops, right? And if you break that, like let's say she's yelling at you, right? She's in a pattern of yelling, she's in her emotions or whatever, and then you do something wild and unexpected that'll break that pattern. It basically causes her brain to reboot for a second, right? So you can say something unexpected in the moment of tension. You can use humor. You can touch her in a certain way. You can change the environment. I had a client do this one time. His wife was in the pattern of being very robotic around him, right? Because she got to a place of complete like apathy and indifference with her husband. But she would still interact with him when it came to the kids. But even then, it was very like short, succinct, business only. And they were a dead bedroom situation, right? So I told him, in order to snap her out of that pattern of just being robotic, I said, playfully poke her in the stomach, go boop while she's talking. That'll cause her to go, wait, what are you doing? Right? It might even make her upset, but it's breaking that pattern. It's snapping her out of that moment. So now you can have some playful banter with her, right? Now you can flirt with her a little bit, right? Might piss her off, but that's okay, right? Because if she's got complete indifference and apathy to you, having her pissed off is an emotional spike, and that's actually a good thing, right? So you poke her in the stomach, say, oh, I don't know. What were you saying again? Right? Pattern interrupts. Command tonality. So lead without asking. This is kind of like Dr. Robert Glover's 3 T's, right? Tease, touch, and tell, but like telling her what to do. You're certainly telling her what to do. That's command tonality. The way you say it matters. You're not saying it like a dick, but you're saying it in a way where you're telling her what to do. And she's like, oh, that's a commanding tone. So command tonality isn't about barking orders. It's about saying things with certainty and finality. This is where real direct communication comes in, right? So the downward inflection of your voice signals that you're in control and no discussions needed about this, right? So why does it work? Well, women are biologically wired to respond to certainty. So when you speak with authority, you trigger safety and polarity. It bypasses resistance by eliminating ambiguity, right? So how do you use? So instead of saying, do you want to go out to dinner later? Right? You're basically seeking approval and asking permission and making her, make the plans, making her make the decisions, right? Which you're operating in her frame. You're trying to make her happy, right? Instead, say, hey, we're going to grab dinner at 7. It's very direct. We're doing this. I'm not asking, we're doing it kind of thing, right? What you'll find, and it blew my mind when I first started doing this, because a lot of this stuff is counterintuitive. Culture says women don't want this. Women will be in the comments right now saying, oh, I don't want this. You guys are misogynists or whatever. But it's not what women say they want or think they want. It's what they respond to. When you start doing this, you start doing like the 3 T's, especially if you're on the dating circuit. You tell a girl, hey, meet me at this place at this time, and you don't leave it up for discussion or whatever, you're going to get more yeses. They like it, right? Every once in a while, you'll get a shit test back where a girl would be like, you're seem bossy, right? And I'll just reply back, yeah, but you like it. And then I usually, like 99% of the time after that, I'll get, yeah, you're right. I'll see you at 7, right? So that's how you do it. You're more direct, right? Instead of saying, hey, you want to maybe, I don't know, go to Chili's. What do you think, right? Or, hey, honey, let's go out to dinner. Here are 2 places for you to choose from. Instead, you're setting the tone and taking the lead by being direct, right? You're using command tonality. We're going to grab dinner at 7. Start getting ready, right? And then we want to reframe resistance, right? Shift the meaning of her objections to things. So how to use it, right? It sounds like you care deeply about us getting it right. I respect that. Okay. So instead of her yelling at you for not taking the trash out or whatever, you reframe it as, oh, it sounds like you care deeply about what's going on in the household. You're reframing that. Gets her to start thinking about it from a different point of view. Instead of you suck, it's you're right. I do care about the relationship and what's going on in the household. You're right. That's why I'm so mad about this, right? You sort of reframe that. All right. I hope you guys are finding this interesting. Hey, look, we got a $2 super chat from CW. Women and their emotions, right? Women, their emotions. He is a beer club brother, so I'm going to give him the, let's give him the shaking booty video today. We played the bouncing tatas one, I think, last time. Twice, so shaking booty this time for you, CW.
Super chat, we'll see you there. Shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
And demonetized. All right. Man. Guys, the reason why he got bumped up to the $10 or $20 super chat is because he is a beer club brother. Consider joining the beer club, would you? beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of guys. There's over 50 guys in there. They're all in there leveling up, swapping notes, getting better with women, getting better with their business. They're getting better with their physical and mental health. We got a lot of activity in there. It's a very active group. Guys have relationship questions. They bring it to the group and we all jump in, and the guys, are able to move forward in the interaction. If they have a serious problem they're dealing with, they bring it to the boys. They don't bring it to the girl. It ends up helping relationships at the end of the day with that sort of thing. But get in there. It's only $10 a month. Okay. And then we have monthly calls, which are always fun. And then, guys, if you want to work with me directly, you can do so by booking a call at call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right, let's talk about real world application and how to use this, right? So here's some frame killers that most men don't see coming. One, over explaining yourself, right? This is where Deering comes in. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning. If you are on the defensive, you feel like you have to explain yourself and justify your actions, you're operating in her frame. Asking for constant validation, right? Hey, honey, are you happy? Did you like dinner? Did you, right? You ask her how she's feeling about stuff, basically seeking her, yeah, everything was good. Yeah, I love you, right? That validation seeking behavior is weak. You're operating in her frame, right? Speaking passively, maybe we should do something this weekend if you want to. That's very passive communication. You're basically seeking her approval and her validation with that sort of stuff. Like, I just want to make her, if I pick something and she's going to be upset by it, I just want to avoid conflict. I just want my peace. You're operating in her frame. Okay. So why it's weak. Uncertainty is unattractive and unpersuasive. Uncertainty is unattractive and unpersuasive. So an NLP upgrade is to use assertive structure with soft tone, right? Let's hit that new spot on Saturday. You're going to love it, right? Now, women will do this on the dating circuit, and they'll probably do this in your relationship too, right? But a woman will do a frame check on you by seeing if she can get you to change the plans sometimes, right? So let's say, like when you're out in the dating circuit, it's much easier to do this on the dating circuit, right? In a relationship, there are some compromises you got to make, but let's say on the dating circuit, Nurse Chick did this to me but by this time I knew what to look for, but we had plans to go to a coffee shop, and she called me like the day before saying, hey, I was just thinking, instead of going to the coffee shop, why don't we meet across the street at the park, and I'll go get coffee and I'll bring us coffee. And if I would have said, yeah, let's do that, she would have known that she was able to change the plans on me. She's the one running the show. I'm now following her lead, right? So I knew what was happening. I said, no, let's meet up for coffee. Let's keep our original plans. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Right? That's that sort of thing. That's where you are setting the tone and leading in that situation, right? And that's where you can say, we can do the park thing next time, but this time we'll meet up at the coffee shop. You'll have a good time, right? Daily NLP habits for frame control. So influence isn't about single powerful moments, about consistent leadership energy, right? You want to train her. You want to train her like a dog. Oh man, that's going to get killed by AI and taken out of context. So how, right? Well, you want to use small chivalrous actions like opening doors, guiding her with your hand on her lower back, ordering the meal at a restaurant. All that kind of stuff subtly reinforces that you're in control, you're composed, and leading the experience. Right? These are nonverbal cues that say, I've got this, without ever needing to say a word. Right? A lot of, like, I was just on a podcast yesterday. I was a guest on a podcast, Coach Clarence's, was it Fitness Over 40 podcast? The episode should come out in a couple of weeks. And he was asking me if I thought chivalrous actions, if that's simp behavior. And I'm like, it all really depends on the frame. It all depends on your mental frame about what's happening, right? If you are in the mental frame that you're doing the chivalrous actions to impress her, to, like as a covert contract, like, hey, if I open the door for her and help her get her coat on, she's going to have sex with me later, right? That ends up being a covert contract. All that kind of stuff, you're operating in her frame. But if you are doing it from the position of, I set the tone, I lead this relationship, you don't open doors, I open doors, then you're basically signaling to her like, hey, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. I have things under control. I set the tone and lead the relationship. I will get the door for you, right? You see it? See how it's framed differently? All right, cool. All right, these are nonverbal cues to say, I've got this. You don't even have to say a word. You can use hypnotic language patterns. This is the fun stuff. This is why people like to study NLP. They want to know how do I mesmerize people without them even knowing it, right? So here's an example of what not to do. Your wife or your girlfriend's upset. You say, hey, calm down. Try that sometime, right? Like it's like throwing gasoline on a fucking fire, right? Hey, calm down. I don't understand why she didn't calm down. I clearly told her to calm down, right? But if you use a soft focus words, they bypass that resistance. It's almost like a subconscious command. You might call it an embedded command, right? But if you tell her, hey, honey, you may begin to feel more relaxed if you have a seat. Instead of calm down, you may begin to feel more relaxed. That's an embedded command, right? Begin to feel more relaxed is an embedded command. It slips past her resistance. It goes right into her subconscious. You're subtly telling her to calm down. Honey, you may begin to feel more relaxed if you have a seat, right? Emotional calibration. You want to watch micro expressions, breathing, blink rate, and muscle tension, and to adjust your delivery, right? Because like I said, she's not listening to the words coming out of your mouth. She's watching your body language and listening to your tone. So if you're aware of what your body language is doing, you can adjust that on the fly. If you are aware of what your tone is conveying, you can adjust that, right? Emotional calibration. That's going to be a relatively short episode today. Sweet. And then we have embedding influence in a daily routine. Okay. So every interaction is a reinforcement. This is why I said anchoring is helpful, right? You get in the habit of anchoring positive emotions in certain situations, especially when there's an emotional high point, like set a fucking anchor, set a fucking anchor, right? But every interaction is reinforcement. Okay. You can't just do this once and then she's magically, mesmerized by you and falling into your frame. This has to be done with consistent action over time. You have to make this a habit is what you have to do. Okay. So you want to be consistent in tone and intention because leadership isn't a mood. It's a baseline that she can trust. You dig? If you want more help with that, get a psychology paradigm. Okay. Psychology paradigm. This is all about rewiring your subconscious to do this stuff without thinking about it, right? Making it a habit. All right. Yeah, short episode today. Not too bad. I don't mind short episodes though, because I have other stuff to do. Guys, tune into Rule Zero tomorrow. I'm not sure who's hosting. Tune into Dragon Ship tomorrow. I think Tarl's hosting. I think Tarl is either Tarl or Huts. One of those two is hosting. They're going to be talking about hypogamy, if that's even a real thing, right? So that should be a fun discussion. I'm not going to be on either one of those. My son's got track again. So, but tune into the podcast on Monday. We're going to be talking about women's needs in relationships, guys. Women's needs. We're going to talk about the women. All right. Now, remember, there's things that women say they want, things that they think they want. Then there's things that they actually respond to. Okay. I'm sure women will tune in and angrily disagree with me. That's fine. We don't consult fish on how to catch fish. We ask fishermen. Right, guys? Smash that like button if you agree. There should be at least 25 likes on this video. All right, guys, that's all I got. Do tune into the podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit those notifications. Although I'm finding with analytics that hitting those notifications don't mean shit, because out of like 1,000 people, 2% of people actually respond to those notifications. I don't even know why they went with that model, but whatever. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat. I appreciate you. Thanks, CW, for the super chat. Follow me on social media, guys. The links are in the description unless you're on Facebook, but you're already following me on Facebook. Get on the email list, list.comeonmanpod.com. Get that free ebook, She's Made You Weak. Also, you now get free 3 free chapters of Get Her to Fuck You Again. So if you've been thinking about getting that book, you want to know what it's about, get on the email list and you can get that, read the first 3 chapters. Those first 3 chapters are powerful chapters because that goes into why your relationship's eroding, right? And what you could do about it. And it also gives you communication techniques that work. Like all those things are really powerful tools, but you're going to want to read the rest of the book. And you can get that at books.comeonmanpod.com along with my other 2 books. That will take you to my Amazon authors page. And then guys, get in Beer Club. In Beer Club, you actually get to interact with me. I'm in there all the time. I'm offering advice in there. It's only $10 a month, right? But if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, go to call.fixeddadbedrooms.com. That's all we got. Oh, hold on. Ray Leyland sent a $5 super chat here. Great show today. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. So Ray's also a Beer Club brother. I'm going to give him the shaking boobs video.
Thank you for the super chats. Boobies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
And canceled. All right, that's all we got, guys. We will see you. Hold on, we got to hide that. There we go. We will see you guys on Monday. Where is the outro video? There it is.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.